Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lailatul Nikma. I will presentation about difference between Indonesian and Australian food. Number 1. Indonesian cuisine often demonstrate complex flavor acquired from certain ingredient and bumbu species mixture. Indonesian dishes have rich flavors, most often described as savory, not and spicy food, and also combination of basic tastes such as sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. Most Indonesian favor hot and spicy food. The sambal Indonesian hot and spicy chili sauce with various optional ingredients, notably shrimp paste, shallots, and others is a staple condiment at all Indonesian table. Number 2. Australian cuisine in the 21st century reflect the influence of globalization with many fast food restaurants and international trends becoming influential. Organic and biodynamic foods have also become widely available alongside a revival of interest in Bastard. Australia has become known for the high quality of its export, with major agricultural industries including cattle, sheep, poultry, milk, vegetable, fruit, nuts, wheat, barley, and canola. The country is also well regarded for its locally made wine, beer, and soft drink. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I will giving explanation about education in Australia and Indonesia. There are many comparisons between the education system in Australia and Indonesia, apart from the level of education, of course. Okay, I will start with number 1 is about material weight and difficulty level. In Indonesia, grade 2 has received a lot of lessons, a variety of complex homework and exams, but in Australia, grades 1 or 2 are not required to read. Primary education in Australia is emphasized as a foundation for learning to recognize oneself, the environment, and the development of attitudes, better to be applied than theory. Therefore, it is not surprising that in Australia, it is often seen that primary school students are doing activities outside the classroom. We can see that from the weight and level of difficulty of the subject matter. The standard of basic education in Indonesia is much higher. Number 2, assessment. In the field of assessment, Australia is different from Indonesia, which requires students to take exam as a requirement to advance to class. There were no students who did not go to class. However, there are national exams such as the UAN, which is called the NAPLAN, National Assessment Program Literacy and Numeracy, which is a simultaneous national test in Australia for reading, writing, and numeracy, which is a simultaneous national test in Australia for reading, writing, and numeracy skills as a preparation for entering year 10 or the equivalent of grade 1 high school. Okay, we go to number 3, teacher. In terms of teaching staff, Australia looks more disciplined. Teachers are required to come to class early before students enter. However, it seems that for this matter, Indonesia is counterbalancing this discipline, so there is no significant difference. So that is the difference between education in Indonesia and Australia. I hope you guys enjoy the explanation. Bye.
Hello, my name is Aisha of Fari'ha. Now I will explain about the festival in Australia and Indonesia. First, I will explain about the festival in Australia. The popular festival in Australia is Yabun Festival. Yabun Festival is a major Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander festival in Australia calendar, celebrating the survival of culture, showcasing the very best indigenous talent in music and dance, and facilitating some of indigenous Australia best thinkers and speakers. Held on Survival Day in 26 January, it brings together leadership, community, and change. Meaning song with a beat, in the local Sydney Gadigal language, Yabun was established by Gadigal Information Service, which is home to Koori Radio. It was set up as a continuation of the Survival Day events held during the 1960 at La Perouse and Waverley Oval. The mission of such event was to hold something on Australia Day that is seen as a celebration of the survival of Aboriginal people, our culture and spirit, in honor of all who have fought for our right to exist. After the original Survival Day event folded, GYS took over organizing the festivities with the help of the Australia Council and intended to produce an event by the community for community. Next, I will explain about the popular festival in Indonesia. The most auspicious event of Satu Suro plays an important role in the life of the Javanese. Satu Suro marks the first or Satu day of the Suro month, which is considered the most sacred month of the Javanese calendar. Furthermore, Suro is the first month of the Javanese calendar and coincides with Muharram, the first month of the Islamic calendar or Hijriah. Since ancient times, the Javanese spend the night of Satu Suro through practicing meditation and contemplation. Besides spiritual practice, ceremonial rituals are performed at the Javanese Royal Palace or Kraton of Surakarta and Yogyakarta. Next, I will explain about the marriage culture of Indonesia and Australia. We take an example of the marriage culture of the Batak tribe. Learning the Batak dialect may not be the easiest thing, but accent and speaking are fairly easy to adopt. A little loud and angry even when they are not actually mad over something. In an ancient Batak family, one is advised to marry his or her cousin in order to keep the bloodline pride and build within the family. However, most are allowed to marry individuals from outside their family and ethnicity. But in order to preserve the rule from the olden days, The outsider will have to be given a marga or Batak family name taken from the partner's tulang. The surname will also be applicable in traditional ceremonies. The wedding ceremony in a Batak tradition starts 2 weeks before the day. Partumpolan or martumpol is held to announce to the community that a couple of getting married, and also serve as a chance for others to object to the wedding. On the day of the wedding, a traditional ceremony will also be held, involving every member of the family and the cutting of a pig or a buffalo, where parts are later on distributed to family members. And be ready to receive marriage advice from the older generation. Next, the marriage culture of Australian. Australian law recognizes only monogamous marriage, being marriage of two people, including same-sex marriage, and does not recognize any other form of union, including traditional Aboriginal marriage. Polygamous marriage or concubinage. The marriage age for marriage in Australia is 18 years, but in unusual and exceptional circumstances, the age for marriage, a person aged 16 or 17 can marry with parental consent and authorization by a court. A notice of interested marriage is required to be logged with the chosen marriage celebrant at least 1 month before the wedding. There is no citizenship or residency requirement for marriage in Australia, so that casual visitors can lawfully marry in Australia, provided that a domestic marriage celebrant is employed. The requisite notice given and other domestic requirements satisfied.
Hey everyone, my name is Ramadan, and I'm here wants to explain you about language in Australia between Indonesia. In Australia, verbal direct communication, once a status or position in a conversation is not easily distinguishable by their appearance. Therefore, communication is more direct and functionally purpose to convey one message with clarity. Criticism can be delivered language in order to remain polite and avoid conflict. But an Australian's intention and meanings is usually apparent through their precise word choice. They tend to speak very honestly, yet with reasonable sensitivity. The accent. Most Australians have the unique ability to swap quite easily from a strong Aussie accent to speech that sounds more refined. For example, foreigners may be surprised to hear Australians talk to them in quite polite, well-pronounced speech, but fall into using a strong ochre accent around other Australians or when drinking. The slang. Australians speak with slang where out their speech. The relevance or understanding of certain slang word varies between age group and areas, but Australians frequently short any words that seem overly complicated by using diminutive. Sometimes there are spontaneous inventions that are not commonly known, but many are commonplace. Self-deprecation. Australians are quite self-deprecating in conversation in an effort to come across as humble, honest, and relaxed about themselves. Feel free to join in with the jokes by criticizing yourself in a similar manner. That being said, avoid finding jokes too funny, alarmingly agreeing to their self-deprecating comments, as this can become insulting. Humor is used in much Australian communication, so expect some like hard joking in most conversations. Jokes about situational circumstances are often used to like merge or approach difficult topics in an indirect way. Australian sarcasm can be very dry, witty, and direct. It is sometimes difficult for foreigners to detect when people are kidding, as Australians do not always break from a joke to clarify. Swearing is more common in Australia than in many other cultures. Television programs are less censored, and mainstream society is largely desensitized toward that foreigners may find vulgar. It is normal to hear an Australian swear at some point during a conversation. Doing so yourself is unlikely to hurt your chance with them. The informality of it can actually make them feel more comfortable around you. Silence. Australians sometimes grow uncomfortable when social chat is punctuated with long periods of pause or silence, and will therefore try to fill the gap with conversation. Yeah or nah when responding to a basic question such as how are you? Australians sometimes give multiple answers with immediately conflicting meanings. If this happens, take the last word they answer with as what they mean. For example, yeah, nah means no, nah yeah means yes, and yeah, nah good means good. And different in Indonesia. Indonesia is official language of Indonesia. It is a standardized variety of Malay and Australasian language that has been used as lingua franca in the multilingual Indonesian archipelago for countries. Nonverbal in Australia. Eye contact. Eye contact should be maintained directly as it translates sincerity, trustworthiness, and approachability. However, it is important to break eye contact intermittently, as holding it for long periods can make Australians feel uncomfortable when talking to a group. Be sure to make equal eye contact with all people present. Conversely, Aboriginal Australia are more likely to divert their eyes during communication. Direct eye contact can be interpreted as disrespectful or confrontational in indigenous cultures, especially when it is meant someone older than oneself. This may also apply to Australian residents from cultures in which direct contact eyes. For example, raising one middle finger for making the V sign with one palm facing oneself is considered very rude in Australia. Beckoning Australians beckon people by waving them over with the palm facing up, and different in Indonesia. Whether that palm face forward, the speaker of the palm face at the V signs means number 2, and it can be means peace with the smile on their face. Thank you.